while, after that first year, I got a little better. I started understanding and getting into my own teaching groove. You know, I talk about this a lot in the book, You Can Do This, which is a book for new teachers about how you find your own teacher groove. Well, I found my own teacher groove, and I'm working well, and I'm actually a pretty decent teacher. About year 3 or so, I start getting a little restless. My principal can tell. So one day in May, he walks in my classroom, and he drops a little book about this big on my desk, and he says, "Congratulations, next year you're going to be teaching AP English." And I said, "What?" He says, "Yes, we're going to start 11th grade AP English here in our school, and you're going to be teaching language and composition." Now, I had never taken an AP class. I had absolutely no training, and he wasn't going to pay for any training, and I didn't have any money for training. The only thing I had was like a 22-page little brochure on AP language and composition. Now, I'm dating myself a little bit more because back then, the internet was just starting. In fact, back then we called it the World Wide Web, right? And it was just starting. There were maybe 3 websites in existence. So there wasn't even a whole bunch I could go online and kind of look up. I just had to figure it out for myself. So that summer, I read everything I could on AP. I talked to a couple of people. I went in that fall, and in that fall, I had, you know, a group of students that I call the phone book children. And here's why: because I could stand in front of those students and read the phone book to them, and they still were going to get a 3, 4, or 5 on the AP test. And so I did what I did. Did it make a difference? Maybe. Did it? I don't know. I just kind of figured it out. But I had a problem. AP was supposedly very rigorous. I wanted to be a very rigorous teacher. I thought being rigorous meant being Joe Clark, Michelle Pfeiffer, Jaime Escalante, and Gabe Carter all tied up in one. And I didn't really understand what rigor was or how to do it. And so that summer, I started thinking, well, you know, I did okay. And so I changed a few things, and the next fall, same thing. But that spring, I started thinking, you know what? Rigor is so important, and that I don't want to just reserve this for just the phone book children, the children who were, you know, deemed at birth that they ought to be in gifted programs. I think it should happen for every kid. So I went to my principal and I said, I want to tear down the gates for AP. Now, this is back years ago. Now, you know, APs, the gates are down. But back then, the gates were up. In fact, in order to get an AP course, students needed to have, you know, like they had to submit a blood sample, you know, a letter from their congressman. You know, they had to do all these things to get into AP. And so I said, I want to tear down the gates. Anybody who wants to get an AP should be able to get an AP. My principal said, I don't know about that. I said, well, let me try for a year. If it doesn't work, we'll put the gates back up. He says, okay, but your scores can't go down. I said, okay. So I recruited students from every single 10th grade class, self-contained special ed, ESL, on-level, honors. I visited, it took me 2.5 weeks, I visited every single 10th grade class and made my pitch. My pitch was something like this. This is the great saleswoman I am. I want to invite you to take AP, Language and Composition, next year. This will be the hardest class you will ever take in your life. There will be times when you want to cry. There will be times when you want to give up. But if you take this class, and trust me, you will learn more in this class than you'll ever learn. But if you take this class, I promise you, I won't let you fail. Now, kids took me up on the offer. In fact, my enrollment tripled in 1 year. So I had kids with IEPs, 504 plans. I had students who had never had an honors class, more or less an AP class. And when I looked at the class list, I said, yeah, I've got 3 times as many kids. The recruitment worked. And then the panic hit. Because what did my principal say? My scores cannot go down. Every child had to take the test. My scores could not go down. Well, this is where the rigor rubber hits the road. Because I can pretend to be rigorous when I'm dealing with students who are going to pass no matter what I do. But it's a different thing when I take students of differing abilities, a range. I mean, the range was wider than it was in an on-level class. And I take all these students in a classroom, and now I have to have them learn. And there's a test. And here's the thing. There's a test I've never seen before. There's a test that I don't get ahead of time. I don't know what's going to be the test. I have a clue because I know the oh, no standards hardly. Some standards kind of, but you kind of had to make it up and do what you have to do. You're teaching kids how to think. It was then that I understood rigor and began to understand rigor. But here are my challenges. The first one is I didn't have any training. The second one is that I didn't fully understand the standards of an AP course yet. And the third one was I didn't know what rigor really was. But I have to help all of these students pass. But I had this dream too, right? And I was really idealistic and a little delusional. Because I had this dream. I wanted these kids who were engaged, who were challenged, who were excited. You know, that I wanted to walk in every day and the students were sitting in classroom thinking, I can't wait to learn whatever it is we're going to learn today. And I wanted that every single day. I wanted a classroom that empowered every kid to meet or exceed the standard. I wanted to have those conversations with students that said, you've got great potential and I believe in you. And I wanted, even if I didn't say it, I wanted the kids to walk out of my classroom feeling that way. I wanted this classroom that kept my students and me motivated, kept me interested. I didn't want to get bored and I didn't want to bore my students. In fact, I'm working on a blog post for this week right now. Are your lessons boring your students? Are you bored by your own lessons? I haven't figured out what the title's going to be yet, but I wanted that for my students. I wanted a classroom that was individualized and provided the appropriate challenge so that students could get their needs met wherever they were. And so I had to figure out what to do, and so I started searching for an answer. So that spring, once I looked at my class list and I saw the challenge ahead of me and I began to panic, I started calling other schools. There were 3 districts who were doing no gates for AP at the time. The first one was in Montclair, New Jersey. There was a district in California, and there was a district right here in this area in Fairfax, Virginia. So I started calling the district and saying, I need to talk to your AP coordinator. I need to talk to your principal. And who are you? I'm just this strange, crazy lady who's at an AP course, but I need to talk to somebody. And so I called around and I talked to them and I said, how's it going? You're doing this. This is so exciting. And they said, well, we believe in it, but everybody told me their scores went down. I'm discouraged. So over the summer, I'm reading everything I can. I'm studying, I'm thinking. I went to the beach with a laptop. I am the nerd at the beach with a laptop and a stack of books next to me because I'm studying all of this and trying to figure it out, and I'm obsessed by it, and I'm trying to figure this out. And so I did it, and then that year, I started teaching. Some things worked, some things didn't. But it was one of the best years of teaching of my life because what I learned in that year was sowed the seeds for what we're doing now. What I learned in that year helped me figure out what rigor was and how to help every child access rigor.